Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Pitafi. Once again we are going to talk about the political situation in the country, especially the accountability process. We have seen how the Chief Minister of Sindh presented himself in front of NAB court. That is not only the aspect that one is going to talk about, but remember we have spent considerable time discussing how the accountability process and economic growth or legislation don't seem to be going together. Especially when it comes to legislative business, it is seen that since we have a very hung parliament, in that situation, it seems that the circumstances are not that much in the favor of lawmaking. So what exactly is going to happen? Are we going to see some kind of hiatus in the accountability process, or are we going to see that no matter what happens, circumstances will keep on moving forward? Accountability, as Prime Minister has said it today, there's no compromise on accountability. There's not going to be any NRO. So what happens? What gives? What happens in coming days? And if we are going to expect some miracles from this political situation. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Dr. Niaz Mirza, a political analyst, doesn't need any introduction, quite regular on this program, also a columnist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Shafiq Ahmed Saab, a senior reporter, journalist, whatnot, another of my favorite guests. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. We are waiting for the third guest. The moment they arrive, I'm going to introduce him as well. So, Dr. Saab, I have to start with you. Now, what is going to happen in coming days? This accountability process is going to continue, and is it going to affect the economic growth and lawmaking, or is it going to be hunky-dory?
Well, I'm not an astrologer, so I cannot make those kind of predictions. But as a social scientist, if I try to analyze things, look at what has happened in the past. I mean, you mentioned a point that there is such a thin majority. But then if I look back at the PPP government, that also had a fairly thin majority from 2008 to 2013, probably thinner.
But they kept on talking about reconciliation.
Reconciliation, and I think that was a smart strategy. Because there are two different paths here. The government's job is to govern and to legislate, and it's the job of the court and NAB to worry about accountability. Now, of course, if they feel there is a need to strengthen the legislation related to NAB and whatever, they can come up with fresh legislation. But I don't think they have to be in such an active mode that on an everyday basis there are 4 or 5 ministers making all kind of statements and just muddying the water. So if they are smart about it.
You actually highlighted this issue of public statements of ministers in the past also. Why should any statement in a good progressing democracy affect the usual business of running the state?
Well, I mean, if you just create too much, bad feelings, that obviously is going to hurt.
Dr.
But
Saab,
don't
you believe in freedom of expression?
Well, I mean, of course, freedom of expression is there, but as a politician, you also have to be careful what you say. It's not free for all. Then the other thing is that the government has still not been able to bring any legislation to the floor, so you can't really say whether the opposition is going to cooperate with them, or it's going to be a completely no cooperation kind of a thing. So I think it's the responsibility of the government.
We have a test case here. Let me bring in Shafiq Saab, and then I'm going to come back to you, sir. Shafiq Saab, the military courts are going to lapse next month, and you need legislation to actually resuscitate them. Do you think that it will be any test case, or we are going to be stuck in this situation?
First of all, I think that when the legislation was finalized, when the former President Mamnoon Hussain signed on the to make it legislation or law, it was signed on 31st of March, but actually it's supposed to be started from 7th of January 2007.
2 years ago,
yes, 2 years ago. So it already lapsed. So there is no, I mean, technically speaking, it is a big issue for the government. Okay. And I think that it need, I mean, a little bit cooperation with the opposition by the government, because the government cannot pass.
A cooperation that will not come unless you compromise? Or is it going to be a cooperation that is going to be readily extended?
I mean, cooperation, without the cooperation, how the legislation can be passed from the Senate, where majority are in the opposition, by the way.
Yeah.
And it must be passed by...
Majority is not in the opposition.
No, opposition. I mean, you need 2/3 majority to pass the legislation. Yeah. So you don't have 2/3 majority in that contest, even not in the National Assembly. So you have to take the opposition leaders into confidence before moving any or before tabling any new law. And I think that like what we have seen, that reduction of terrorism incident because of the military courts. Yeah. I mean, or because of the National Action Plan, which was signed by all the political leadership. Yeah. So they should cooperate with each other, particularly on this issue.
Should is quite interesting because it is different from would or will.
Yes, because...
Do you think they are going to cooperate?
I mean, Pakistan People's Party apparently not in favor of military courts.
Yeah.
Fazlur Rahman Saab Party, Jamiat Ulama-e-Islam, they are not supporting it.
They have one senator, right?
Yes, but they have some strength in the National Assembly, so
no, next to nil. Yeah, I don't think so. They
Jamiat Ulama-e-Islam.
Yeah, they have one seat, I guess.
Very small.
Oh, okay, but they are apparently they are not supporting it.
Yeah.
So I mean that.
And PMLN?
PMLN is 50-50. Okay. I mean, they can support apparently because
they might not support a law that they actually brought into existence.
I mean, they have to support. They have to support.
Are they going to?
I think they should or they would. I personally believe
that's a very interesting question. Let me go back to Dr. Saab. Dr. Saab, we keep on faulting the government on their tone, their message, how they don't seem to be cooperating with the opposition or inviting confidences from the opposition. But is it not true that the opposition should also be forthcoming in or volunteering in bringing into existence laws that are needed?
Well, that's what I am saying. There's no proof yet. Until and unless the government brings something to the floor, how can we assume that the opposition parties are not going to cooperate? You can't start from that assumption.
The government brought money bill.
Money bill, of course, that's just National Assembly. They don't need the opposition for that.
In National Assembly,
and they were able to pass that. But I mean, personally, as far as this law about the military code is concerned, personally, I am vehemently opposed to that from day one. And even now, with terrorism well controlled, I don't see any reason. But if you ask me about the two parties, I think the PMLN would probably still cooperate because I think they are into that kind of a mode where PPP is more into human rights and that kind of a thing. And Bilawal has openly said it. Now I don't know how the arithmetic will work if PMLN supports.
And then PPP, it is a slam dunk.
If it's slam dunk, then it's. But then that's not the only thing. There are so many other bills that the government can bring where the PPP might be interested. They keep talking about improving the 18th Amendment, which should be in the direction of strengthening it rather than weakening it. Bring bills for that, bring bills for GB. There's so many other areas where you need legislation, but you don't practically see any attempt by the government to come up with bills.
Why so?
I don't know. Maybe they don't have the capacity for that, or they have not been able to focus on that. They still seem to be in sort of agitational, oppositional election mode, which should be the job of the opposition. The opposition is not governing, right? The only thing that it has to do is oppose those policies which they feel are not correct, and within a certain limit.
They promised the moon and the sun, so they must be some. They must be taking some pressure as well, some heat out of their own promises.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they overpromise clearly. I mean, there's a huge gap in capacity.
Everybody does that.
And now they are suffering from that. So,
but
move on. I would say start bringing bills.
Rahul Gandhi actually pledged 6,000 Indian rupees per month for the most of the poor in India.
Right.
So
but
you can
bills,
promise whatever you
want.
Bring
bills. That's the way to move forward.
Yeah, which bill actually?
That's for them to look at.
Yeah,
Mr. Farooq, I was a little bit confused when you say that the JUIF has one member. I think 13, 14.
No, I don't.
No, it doesn't have that kind of number. It might. Okay,
they had
even
in the
then,
last assembly 13, I think.
Yeah,
not in this assembly, because they have one. Fazlur Rahman
why do you
group
think Maulana Fazlur Rahman
has
is
a
on
lot
a
of
war
seats
path?
from
No.
Balochistan.
And they fought
they
together
lost
as
there as
MMA.
well.
They fought
Really?
together as MMA,
Yeah.
and they lost very badly even with the MMA thing.
Yeah,
Okay, I will double
and
check
regardless of that, even then they cannot contribute that substantially to the overall
he's
number.
playing, actually he's playing a role to make an alliance between the two parties, two opposition parties. Like he's
failed.
trying to play somehow some role, but so far he's failed. Yes, this is his desire. This is his wish that both People's Party and PMLN join together to play role somehow, some active role against the PTI government. But so far
Now,
he has
I have
failed to muster
another
that
question
support.
for you, but promise that you are not going to say you are not an astrologer, because I don't want to take that to respond. You know, which direction do you think this fake accounts case is moving into?
I think currently it is on right direction, because they...
No, right or wrong, what exactly is going to be the logical conclusion? Is it going to lead the current leadership of People's Party to incarceration, or is it going to reprieve them?
I think the case against People's Party leadership are very, very strong. Okay. That is why Bilawal Bhutto made a statement which is very much criticized by the by different political party leadership, because the way he was saying something like the links between some ministers with the banned militant outfits, like this is not the way to talk. Like for a person who's...
Why not?
I mean...
Freedom of speech again, since I was
but
justifying
this is not
the
time.
government.
Like, you know, we have a serious case, FATF case, and after a couple of months it will be taken up once again. So when we are in a position like we are still in a grey list, which we can be in a blacklist.
Do you honestly think Bilawal Bhutto's Zardari statement is going to matter at all? He has never been into power. He has never been Prime Minister, Minister, he is now an MNA.
Look, the way the Indian lawyer in the International Court of Justice taken up the statement made by Nawaz Sharif or in an interview, I mean, at least...
And we had a better, lawyer from our side
who
actually brought up Ajit Doval and all. So that's economy of thoughts.
It can be, yes, it can be a counter statement, but it was like the Qureshi statement was very, very good, by the way. But at least the Indian lawyer, in front of the international media, he said something. He gave a reference of that interview given by Nawaz Sharif.
I have another question for you. Do we, as a society, have double standards for liberals and conservatives?
I mean, look, I mean, if you talk about freedom of speech, like you talk about freedom of speech, I personally believe there must be some limitation. You cannot, I mean, say everything in public.
Okay.
I mean,
like what can't you say in public? I mean, I just want to understand what is going on.
I fully understand what you are saying, but I believe that there must be some red lines. No one should cross that red line. No, but
here's the beauty of it. I mean, whatever statement is made in Pakistan adds to one impression, and which is very strong, that in Pakistan you have freedom of speech. Compared it with India, where their rabid media has gone totally bonkers, and they shout at the participants and they declare them anti-national. Are we not better off if we have economy of thought? Everybody has freedom of expression.
No. Our journalism is really different as compared to the Indian journalism.
We are better.
I think Pakistani journalism or Pakistani journalists, they are far better than the Indian journalists. They are very blunt in their statement, and the way they are using the language against the opposition leadership, that is totally wrong. We should condemn that kind of language. But I personally believe that, look, we are in a situation where we have opened many fronts, like FATF is one front, like current economic condition is not good. Like
but they are sensible people. I mean, they are going to come and audit things, right? They are going to study. if we have, and I believe we are presenting a very good case, so then it's water under the bridge. Let me come back to the fake accounts issue, sir. Remember when we were studying Panama, and you used to help us a lot. Dr. Saab, now tell me, what is your reading of the fake accounts case? Because the JIT is there, and honestly, there's a lot of meat in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I hear. But let's frame it properly, that even when, there was this JIT for Nawaz Sharif, there was a lot of hoopla, people used to talk in hushed terms, very referentially, 10 volumes. And then what you're seeing is, case after case is just collapsing. But, from neutral observers, I hear that, there is more meat into this JIT.
Because they have shown where money went,
I mean, Mr. Zardari does things extremely crudely. So, I think he's probably got caught. Now the issue is, what kind of games the establishment is playing. Is it really serious about accountability? Does it really want to, nail him, or are they just playing games to put pressure on him?
Can I add something?
No, hang on. Let me ask you something, and then I'm going to come to you as well. When we are talking about Nawaz Sharif, he is innocent until proven guilty, right? So same goes for Asif Ali Zardari. But when you and I are going to use the term establishment, we don't need proof of the culpability, do we?
Well, I mean, we are not sitting in a court. You've invited me
here's the
not
argument.
as a lawyer.
I'm just talking about
as a defense.
I'm just lawyer. Talking about the standard.
Just in terms of my analysis. This is my analysis. That the accountability process is extremely flawed, it's biased, and you're not sure whether the real intention is to reduce corruption or to reduce the opposition. To me, it looks like the latter. So it depends on that. If they just go on the legalities and do it professionally, then I think there is strong evidence against Mr. Zardari at least, and his sister. I don't know about Bilawal. But then, the question is about even-handedness, as I said last time. Then, the same, standard should also apply, because when Mr. Nawaz Sharif was the Prime Minister, they took a very unusual process of 184.3 and JIT and fast tracking. So why is the same thing not being done for the current Prime Minister? And there are so many cases against him as well.
Let me highlight one nuance which is often missed. When Panama broke, there was a different Chief Justice.
It shouldn't change from Chief Justice to
No,
Chief
sir,
Justice,
with due
right?
respect, no, but it is human, right? You have different
and the
army chiefs.
current Chief Justice was involved in Panama.
No, but
he was the head of the bench.
Allow me to say what I'm just telling here. Justice Jamali was the Chief Justice. First, he refused to actually take up the issue. Then he took up, but then in the end, the entire, panel was disbanded. Then another Chief Justice came and it continued. They gave a lot of room to the man in question, right?
If we are talking, do the same for this.
We forget about these nonsense.
Do the same for this.
Sir, you wanted to say something.
Look. I mean, recently the Supreme Court asked the Bahria town, Malak Riaz, and Bahria town agreed to pay 460 billion rupees. Right. Look, the volume, 460 billion.
I mean,
it is said
I love the deep pockets. If you can pay out that kind of money in 7 years.
Look, if a person say, don't take me to the NAB, I'm willing to pay that much money. So the question is, how much corruption he has done?
Okay.
It's a big question. There is a troika, alleged troika, Mr. Zardari, Malak Riaz, Omni Group. Okay. This is the GIT report. Okay. So how we can...
Not Malak Riaz, actually Bahria.
Bahria town, I'm sorry.
Nonsense again.
It's a Bahria town. So if a person is, or if Bahria town is willing to pay that much huge amount, so we ordinary people want to know how much corruption or how much money he has made through illegal means or with a willing dealing with the Pakistan People's Party government.
Is it not possible that this was one-off where they slipped, and that's why they are ready to pay a lot of money? But since Pakistan has a lot of property and business of property, so he is a rich bloke. He earns a lot from fair means, and that's why he is ready to compensate.
That's why if you say it's a fair mean, let NAB investigate.
So NAB has investigated.
And then why he was willing to pay that much money?
Because he doesn't want to end up behind bars. I mean, this is...
Look, I mean, let the NAB investigate each and every matter. Like if there are Benami accounts, if there are accounts against Chaiwala or a person who is selling juice in the street, and there is a transaction of billions of rupees. So why we should criticize that? Let the NAB do its work independently. Currently, NAB is very independent. If Imran Khan, the Prime Minister, is saying that we are not interfering in the NAB affairs.
But here's the problem. The point that Dr. Saab has made actually makes a lot of sense when it comes to the methodology of investigation and then prosecution as well. You know, I don't want to litigate that case, but one gentleman who was quite dear friend of mine as well committed suicide allegedly, right?
Unfortunate, it was very unfortunate.
And similarly, a couple of other things happened. And everybody, even Bilawal, agrees that they missed a chance when they were in power to amend the law, to make it better, because there might be a lot of flaws in the system, but since it is the only system which is functioning, you cannot change it right now. So is it possible that in coming days there can be consensus to address the flaws in the law?
I think so, because what Prime Minister Imran Khan has said, that we need improvement in the judicial system, and it must be improved.
No, accountability.
Accountability process is different, but you know, we have two parallel laws. One is the ordinary courts law, which is different from the NAB law. So, I mean, if all the parliamentarians, they agreed to make some changes, but first they have to make changes in other, in the ordinary court law, because the ordinary court, what we have seen in the past, the prosecutors have to prove that this man has done something wrong.
I'll have to interject here, and I'll have to request you to wait a bit. I'm going to come back to you, sir. I'm told that Aftab Jahangir, MNA of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, has joined us on telephone. And we lost him apparently while I was trying to actually go to him. Okay, please resume from where you left.
So, I mean, what is my understanding? We have to change. We have to make a lot of changes in the current judicial system to expedite the procedure of finishing all the important cases and other cases. Like it takes a lot of time for the ordinary complainant to get justice from the court. So we need to revamp. To review the judicial system, and unless we don't have a proper judicial system, so NAB,
no, we have a proper judicial system. It might not be revised, but with due respect, here comes the real praise that the Honorable Chief Justice has talked about, clearing the pendency. He led by example when he was elevated to the Honorable Court, and he has cleared most of the criminal cases. Now he talks about fixing the organogram and the overall flow of the legal system and cases. But we are talking about fixing the accountability process. That also is very important, sir, because this country has been obsessing about accountability for past 40 years.
But again, I think it makes sense to make some amendments in some areas, strengthen NAB's powers, because people even talk about that, and in other areas it seems to be draconian to be just able to lock up somebody without appeal or anything, and keep them, even at the investigation inquiry stage, keep them in jail for up to 2 to 3 months. So I think, but the question is optics, because the PTI has taken such a rigid stand on accountability, because if they start reducing NAB powers in some areas, there might be a hue and cry that they are making a deal, or now backtracking on the accountability process. So I think they have to introduce rationality into the whole debate.
Help us understand how the government or the PTI government can actually compromise on certain issues that it has been raising during the election campaign. I'm saying this because they kept on struggling to come into power for 22 years.
Yeah.
Now, whatever promises whatever promises they made brought them into power. If they let go of any of the promise, they might be actually sinking in waters.
But that is the option before them. They can either do politics or they can do governance. That's their choice at the moment.
There's a difference.
They're doing more politics and less governance.
There's a difference, sir.
Yeah, I mean, governance is a subset of politics, of course.
So,
but there is
politics
beyond governance. For example, when you're electioneering, you're not governing, but that's still politics. So they have to make a choice now whether they are going to still focus on that non-governance aspects of politics, or they are going to focus on governance, and they need to start approaching accountability from the point of view of governance, not politics.
I get that, but tell me, answer me honestly. I know you always do, but just for the sake of emphasis, I'm saying this. If PMLN or People's Party don't get any concessions, do you think that they're going to cooperate in the parliament?
Well, especially on the NAB issues, they might want to do a deal on that. But, say other issues, I think, for example, military courts, PMLN would still like to make, the establishment happy despite what they have gone through.
Establishment
so, I think they will still cooperate on that matter. On GB, I think both parties will cooperate. Okay. So it varies from, topic to topic, but definitely on the NAB issue, they'll want something in return for that. But other issues are open. But still, I would say the overall process of accountability is extremely flawed, unprofessional, as well as biased. Okay. They are not applying the same standards to all the parties. As I said, if you can have those kind of extraordinary processes for the last Prime Minister,
it is Dr. Saab's
have
opinion.
them for the current.
And we have a disclaimer for that. So please go ahead. You want to add to this?
I mean, if we want to do politics, if we want, let's say, to allow that government should function and should not net those people who have made money in the past, or particularly in the past 10 years, or maybe even before, like the past 30 years. So, I mean, people trust the PTI government that they are the only people who will net them and who will properly do accountability of all those who were blamed or alleged for corruption. And we know, I mean, the ordinary people know about the background of some political leadership and the way they made the money. Like, ordinary people know about it.
Shafiq Sahab, you're a reporter also, a very good one at that. One question, since you brought up, Bahria Town case, tell me, this 460 billion rupees over a period of 7 years, is it going to really affect their business?
No.
It is not.
Malik Riaz knows how to make money.
Okay. No, but I'm talking about the existing business and how much they have in, stocks, shares, money, and all that. Is it going to affect them or not? Because we might have an example here for other politicians, other, opinion leaders, influentials, that if you concede this much wealth to the state, you have a path forward.
I mean, this is one of the ways shown by the Bahria Town how you can.
It is part of the NAB's plea deal as well, right? Plea bargaining.
Plea bargain. It's kind of plea bargain. And this is particularly about the Bahria Town, Karachi.
Okay.
And what I believe that Bahria Town actually lost, like the people, is like properties have been sold to the general public, and the rate of the Bahria Town in Karachi came down to 50%, I believe. No, it started going up gradually. And what I personally I can presume, I cannot say with surety, but I know Malik Riaz is a very intelligent, very genius. He knows how to.
But I'm not asking you to monetize your person. I'm asking you to actually evaluate whether this incurs some actual serious loss or not. I don't know how rich he is. At the start, when the previous Chief Justice was there, he was being asked to submit $10 billion rupees. And he said, I'm a poor man, I don't have that kind of money. And they settled on 4 billion, I guess. At the start, it was 2 billion and then 4 billion. So we don't know what exactly is the net worth of the man or his business. So,
we don't know. I mean, no one knows. This is
why don't we know?
The problem is that when we have Benami accounts of several people, so how we can assess exact amount or exact worth of a person?
Yeah, it might be Benami accounts. But when you have any business, you don't need all the Benami accounts, right?
Of course.
You must have some assets. You must have some bank accounts as well.
Yes.
So what is the estimation of that? We don't even have that number. Why?
I mean, we have actually undocumented economic system in the country.
Our properties, major tycoon is undocumented.
Undocumented mean no. I mean, I'm not talking about Bahria town alone. Like, I'm talking the overall business community. I mean, it is not necessarily that they have the entire economy of Pakistan is not documented like the European and other countries. Yeah. So I believe that he has a lot of documents. But at the same time, we don't know, but we just know that he's the richest man in Pakistan. This is what we
don't know that. There's another man who is accused of being the richest, and he's being actually taken to task as well. One banker, actually. And he is called, I'm not going to name him. Till the time he is not named by the authorities.
Well, I mean, you hear all sort of, I think wild estimates.
Mia Manshah.
Oh, yes.
He's thought to be the richest man in the country. But here's the problem. Dr. Saab, as a political economist, you must work with numbers, right? Why do we have aversion to formal numbers in this country? I don't see the kind of numbers we need. We don't know what is the total valuation of Malik Riaz.
Well, yes. The thing is, a lot of the money might be abroad, so it's very difficult. And then, with all these, offshore companies and,
I know.
Completely different things. But I have heard estimates of as high as $15 billion from one of the leading economists of Pakistan.
Okay.
Not somebody on the streets. Huh?
Right.
One of the leading economists of Pakistan, he gave me an estimate. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Okay.
And a lot of that money, that money is abroad.
That is why he is willing to pay back $3 billion US dollars.
I don't know. It brings me back to Tom Piketty's book, A Capital in 21st Century. He says that the rich-poor gap is big, but the poor don't know how big it is. Yeah. So we are talking about
I think
billions.
he got scot-free. I mean, there should have been, of course, the recovery for the land, and then, he committed fraud. Right? So in NAB, there is also a process that if you've committed fraud and you want to avoid, jail time, then, there should be an additional fine for that. And then there is the issue of what happens to all the people who lost their land. So I think it's a good start. It's a good start, but it's not enough. And, for the sake of transparency, I live in Bahria myself.
Okay.
But I have no objection in saying that, he got
You bought the property, right?
Yeah.
You bought the house.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Then no matter, even if you live on moon, I don't care.
Yeah. But I think this is an aside issue. I think the main issue is about accountability. And
that is about 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
This country's economic, path or its trajectory, right? And then this idea that somehow accountability can fix the economy as well.
Not the way it's being doing right now.
Okay.
Because you're doing, politics of accountability, not governance of accountability. The way it's being done right now, it's going to damage the country very badly. I mean, there was an interview by another leading economist of Pakistan that all businessmen, all bureaucrats are so scared that they're not willing to take any decisions about investment. Everybody's scared. Because, it's just done so haphazardly.
No, because there are money. Because they have a black money.
They have the black money.
Not everybody does.
Not everybody.
But then the thing is, very honest.
But then the thing is, NAB doesn't have the evidence to, have a very strong case. What they do is, they have half evidence and, they file a case, and then when it goes to the court, they find that it doesn't stand before the judge.
No, but we are basing our argument on the certain cases, like high-profile political cases.
And a lot of even the business cases.
Okay. Like, can you give me a couple of examples?
A lot of businessmen, I don't want to take their names here.
Please do.
But, there is the same issue there that, the inquiries have been going on forever and ever. In some cases, they do get a plea bargain, etc. But in other cases, they are just raiding, business places, offices of
Do you think
bureaucracy.
We have a corruption problem?
We do have a very big corruption problem. It's huge. I mean, you can look at the transparency reports, but then, you have to approach it sociologically, not just morally.
Transparency reports are subjective.
They are subjective, but they are a good measure of it. And what we need to look at is, you're not going to get rid of corruption by this method, especially. Okay. Even if you adopt a very professional method, it's going to take, decades before you reach a level of, say, where, middle-income countries are. So, so just drive ourselves crazy, horse, and in this have this thinking that whatever we do against corruption is good, and just bring a country to a standstill. This is not going to benefit you. This is going to
Shafiq Sahab, what is the alternative?
I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that a lot of people, they have, not everyone, good honest people exist in Pakistan, but those who are rich people, they are mostly investing in real estate business.
Okay.
Because this is the easiest way to save their money. Currently, as the accountability process has been started, so it is, they have a fear. So they are not investing money anymore because of the fear. And number two...
Yeah, but property is thought to be the worst investment possible. I mean, it is not going to grow.
Not in Pakistan.
It is not going to bring you returns the way you are supposed to.
No. Not in Pakistan. We are not talking about the Europe and America. In Pakistan, it always go up.
Okay.
But in Europe and other countries, it can come down, it can go up, it can go either way.
Why not invest in something else?
I mean, this is...
Money-making enterprises.
I mean, initially, like Bahria Town, give the example of DHA or Bahria Town or some other naval anchorage, for sake of discussion.
Don't confuse the three. They are different elements, right?
I mean, they are not actually the way they're supposed to transfer the property in Islamabad, like they give the transfer certificate of Bahria Town instead of the CDA. So, I mean, they have a different system. So, in that system, I mean...
who's going to fix that system?
The present government.
Okay.
The past government has not...
Because it is essentially a parliamentary job, making laws, fixing or straightening the laws?
Of course, why not? This is the parliament job and they should take up such kind of issues in the parliament and they should take opposition parties also into the confidence because, I mean, this is
I wish we had, an assembly for Islamabad as well, because federal capitals usually get the state status, right? In India, it has happened.
Well, Delhi is huge.
Oh,
Delhi is huge.
No, Islamabad now is growing as well.
Still very small. But
India,
the issue is that, if somebody comes and tell me we are going to end corruption and that is going to lead to progress, I'm not going to take them seriously. If somebody comes and tell me that, corruption is a long-term issue, we are going to find ways of growing despite high corruption, I will take them seriously.
Can you give me a couple of examples how that
Every country that you look around us, China, India, Bangladesh, there is not a single country.
China shoots their corrupt.
That's just in the last 2 or 3 years, and that again is very, sort of politicized. Whoever is opposed to President Zai is shot, but all his own name was in Panama. His own name was in Panama. Are you forgetting that? China is an extremely corrupt country. India is an extremely corrupt country. Bangladesh is an extremely corrupt country.
There is an issue, like when we talk about the index of corruption. So there is a question. I mean, if someone is taking bribe, he is the corrupt or the person who is giving the bribe. He's also. So if the index is talk about both of the corruption, so number one is Russia and then China, by the way.
Okay. No,
they are
the most corrupt.
I wanted you to give me examples where corruption as a principle is tolerated. I don't see a single country.
No, not as a principle, you can't tolerate it. But you have to, there is one thing that it's a moral wrong. Then, you stop looking at it from a moral angle. Then if you want to solve it, you look at it from a sociological angle. How long has it taken other countries? What kind of methodology has worked? Then you forget the morality and you focus on sociology.
This country, this nation is pretty young. 72 years is nothing. 73
Same as
years,
India.
Right? Yeah, but India has been there.
Older than Bangladesh.
India keeps on...
Bangladesh is doing better than us. It's more corrupt than us.
Let me build the case that I'm building. I mean, in 73 years, the problem is that we didn't have the kind of, the right amount of dream when it came to political rulers, right? Most of the people kept on compromising after Bhutto. Perhaps this government shows you the kind of dreams.
It's also compromising.
No, it might be.
Its own ranks are full of corrupt people.
I get it.
It's full of corrupt people.
No, I get it, what you think. My humble submission is, if somebody has the audacity of hoping and dreaming, should we not actually take it as an opportunity?
Well, hope is not a strategy. I'm not interested in hopes. I'm interested in strategy.
So build strategies which are compatible with hope.
I don't see a strategy. This is just politics of corruption.
And when are our intellectuals going to see that there is a ground here to be built and start building strategies to help the government?
Well, if you want to, then it's a slow process.
One suggestion given by Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, it was a very good suggestion, by the way. I mean, reduce the tax system, I mean the taxation, to encourage the new industry, because until and unless you don't reduce the taxation for the new businesses, so there will be no investor to invest in the country.
I'm glad that you have brought up this issue, because in this country it seems that only few people are paying taxes already.
The problem, we don't have a system.
People like you and me who are salaried people.
No, but you know, the industry is heavily taxed.
Okay.
The large scale industry is very heavily taxed.
Right.
And suggestion by Mahathir Mohamad was very correct, because you know why Mahathir Mohamad won the election. Do you know about? Like, there was a 6% GST in Malaysia, and he promised that there will be zero GST. And now there is no GST in Malaysia, by the way.
Okay.
So I mean,
GST as in general sales tax or goods and services tax?
General sales tax.
Okay.
For
okay.
6%.
Indirect taxes.
And you know, Najib Razak lost the election because of the 6% GST. And if we tell the
because
people,
of one MDB and so many
yes,
other.
4 point some billion US dollars, yes.
One MDB is actually now indebted. It was supposed to actually bail out others, but now it is itself.
There is serious allegation against the former Prime Minister, and still investigation is going on. But corruption is also.
I don't know whether you have seen the expose of international media, because they connect Hollywood with this Najib Razak business and God knows what else. It is a big story, but somehow we choose to ignore it. No, the humble submission is that we have to start doing stuff here in this country. And if we think that changing faces, changing Imran Khan and bringing back Nawaz Sharif, somebody else, will fix the situation, it won't happen. We'll have to start helping ourselves. Right, Dr. Sir?
Well, you know, I think there should be free and fair elections, whoever wins. You know, I am not fixated on any one person. You know, I don't believe in individuals. I believe in institutions. I am not carried away by rhetoric, Imran's rhetoric, or even Nawaz Sharif's rhetoric. I believe in institutions, in free and fair elections. Whoever wins, that is up to the people to decide what they. And if you have strong cases, then that's fine. You know, bring the cases.
And the system should remain elitist, or should it be more diffused?
Well, of course it should be more diffused.
Where you and I have more say.
But that's going to come from, you know, a mobilization of people. That's not going to come from the leaders themselves.
And tell me, when is it that people like you and I and Shafiq Saab are going to stop complaining and start actually fixing
mobilize people. I agree with that, you know.
We won't mobilize on our own.
Yeah, we have to mobilize people. We have to create awareness.
We won't mobilize on our own. Somebody has to come and mobilize us.
Well, whoever wants to take the leadership, it doesn't have to be political work. It has to be, you know, community mobilization work, and a lot of people
future of Pakistan political scenarios. What exactly is going to happen to People's Party, to PMLN and PTI? I understand PTI is right now in government. People's Party is facing some very existential cases. So is PMLN.
Cases. Yes, and PMLN leadership, like they are inside the prison, but there is a serious health. Yes, but the major one, like inquiries also going on.
The N of PMLN is behind the bars.
Yes, but I mean, some cases are also initiated against the former Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, and we will see. But the problem of Nawaz Sharif is very serious, and the issue is that whether should government allow Nawaz Sharif to go abroad for treatment or not. This is a very serious issue. If the health, like PTI is not flexible in this case, because there is no precedent that a convicted person.
No, but it is not the issue of PTI right now. It is with the courts.
With the court, of course. But you know, if something goes wrong,
PTI government factors in when it comes to ECL. But the court can set aside that aspect as well.
As well, yes. But the question is that if Nawaz Sharif is seriously ill, and if, for God bid, something goes wrong, so it will be definitely a very bad scenario in the country. Because still he is very popular, particularly in the central Punjab. He has a vote bank. He has won a lot of seats. So
just one last thing on that. I personally feel he's a political prisoner, and right now the question is not about going abroad. It's just about the bail. It's just about the bail. What is going to be decided tomorrow is just the bail, and I think he should be given that. And then, you know, later on, if he applies about
submission is that while I cannot be seen to interfere with any work which is going on, which is sub judice. My concern, of course, will be that, like Shafiq Saab has said, that healthcare issues or worsening health might backfire. So at least the court is listening to that and it is examining the evidence. Let's see what becomes of that. On that note, whether he is or whether he is not ill, or whatever opinion you articulated, whether it is true or wrong, we have to just wait and see for the history to decide. On that note, Dr. Niaz Mirza, thank you very much for your participation. Shafiq Ahmed sir, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. I would have thanked the third guest, but somehow he was kept away from appearing here. But regardless, this was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.